I'm going to go ahead and illustrate the process of changing the size of a data disk. In my cloud, I have a single virtual machine. If I switch over to the storage tab, we can see that I have a root disk with the name root-3 and a data disk with the name vol-1. Switching over to Xen Server, my Xen Center environment shows my Xen Server hosts. We can see here in the console that this particular virtual machine does in fact agree. That top device is the root disk, the bottom one is the data disk. Switching back over to CloudStack, I'm going to go ahead and create in the Service Offerings tab under the Disk Offerings drop-down, I'm going to add a disk offering. We'll call this one SolidFire Disk Offering 3. And in this case, I'm actually going to provide the same number of IOPS that my current offering has. What I'm really looking to illustrate here is changing the size only, but you can change both the size and the IOPS at the same time. My current offering is 150 gigabytes. I'm going to make this one 200. My QoS type will be storage. I'll fill in that 1000 and 2000 that I specified in the description. Now I know my other disk offering has 200% for the hypervisor snapshot reserve. I'm going to keep that the same. I'm going to type in S and select SolidFire SAN1 for the storage tag. I know that's consistent with my other disk offering that I'm replacing. I'll hit the OK button. So now we have our third SolidFire disk offering. As we can see for the SolidFire disk offerings, I did keep the minimum and the maximum IOPS the same, just trying to illustrate changing the size in this particular demonstration. We can see that we have 200 gigabytes for the size of our most recent SolidFire disk offering. The one that we're currently using is at 150 gigabytes. So now that we have this other disk offering in place, I'm going to go back over to the Storage tab, and in the Quick View column, I'm going to select Resize Volume. From the drop-down, I'll pick my newest disk offering, and then hit the OK button. Now this is actually an error because the disk has not yet been detached from the virtual machine. So I wanted to illustrate that. I'm going to close the dialog, refresh the Storage tab, go back to the Quick View column, and detach the disk. I'll hit Yes, go over to Xen Center. We can see here, I'm going to highlight it, this particular storage repository has the VDI, that's the data disk. That storage repository is going to disappear from Xen Center because the disk, the CloudStack disk, has been detached from the virtual machine. Now that this has happened, we can go back over to CloudStack. I just wanted to show that through Xen Center, but there was nothing you actually needed to do there. Just going to go and look in the notifications. We can see if we look at the bottom here, detached disk was successful. Let's clear that out. Hit close. Now that the disk is no longer attached to the virtual machine, let's go back to the Quick View column, click on Resize Volume, and reselect our new disk offering. Hitting the OK button. If we go over to the SolidFire GUI and we look at the volume details, we can see the old size is still listed here. If I hit the refresh button, we now have a new size. Nothing has yet happened on the Xen server side, not until we reattach the virtual disk image. Let's go ahead back through CloudStack and do that now. In the Quick View column, I'll hit Attach Disk and attach it to my virtual machine, switch over to Xen Center. We can see the storage repository will show up. It's being probed right now. It will disappear and then come back. There, it's disappeared. In a moment, it will be discovered again, and then the virtual disk image will be resized and attached to the virtual machine. You can see in this table in a moment, we'll see the old size at 150 gigabytes, and then it will go to 200. 150, 200, and now in this third column we can see that this virtual disk image is attached to our virtual machine. Let's go over to our virtual machine. In its console, we can see the old numbers, 20 gigabytes, 160 gigabytes. Let's clear this screen out. Rerun fdisk-L, and we can see we still have a 20 gigabyte root disk, and we now have a 200 gigabyte data disk. If we go back over to CloudStack and we click on this row in the table, we can see that CloudStack agrees 200 gigabytes for the data disk, and our IAPS are still the same, 1,000 for the minimum, 2,000 for the maximum.